All right, a guy who I didn't really know except for through one email a couple of years ago came down here and really gave this conference this weekend a charge with a super website, great publicity. He's one of the rising stars in internet radio, and I know one day he's going to break into it. He's been doing podcasting, interviewing all of the personalities of paranormal phenomena, or what he deems to call esoteric investigation. I'd like to present this award on behalf of the Mass Monster Mash 2007, Tim Banal. Tim, come on up. Can you get some pictures? Another one. There you go, bro. All right, great. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
All right, no problem. Tim Banal, ladies and gentlemen, Banal of America. Next up, my guy who's I've been working with 10 years now. We've been making videos and annoying people, but we've decided to forego video, or at least I have in my career, and we're going to go audio. We opened a CD label called BigAudioCDs.com, and we're going to be working on a couple more releases. In fact, Chris Balzano and I and Matt Moniz are tentatively talking about a New England Ghost Locker CD. But I want to bring up a guy that's really my creative right side, and a good friend, Mr. Steve Russo. Steve, come on up. Can you get a camera? Can you get the camera? Carl, could you do me a favor, take a picture of Steve and I? Here, step for a moment. Thank you, Matt.
Not a problem.
Thank you. All right, Steve. All right. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Matt. Next up, Matt, Steve, why don't you take the camera, because I want to give a prize to this guy. He's the Forrest Gump of paranormal investigation. He happened to be at the same UFO conference, Omega conference, that we were in 1995. We probably sat 2 seats apart. We didn't know each other, but last year he stepped up big, and he's helped me out and my wife out setting up both years of this conference, Matt Moniz. And finally, the guy that he's MassCrossroads.com, the teacher. He's another rising star in ghost research. We've decided he's going to come back next year, as is, I'm trying to lock down Jeff Belanger there for a return appearance. Jeff is working on a new book. Weird Massachusetts, is it, Jeff? Weird Massachusetts. So hopefully we just have to get to clear his schedule because he's booked far in advance. But Chris is going to come back and do Phantom Hitchhikers. Chris Balzano.
Excellent. Thank you very much. This isn't an acceptance speech or anything. I'm introducing the next speaker. Although from now on, I'm going to make sure that I never take pictures with people over 6 feet because that made me feel really bad about myself. I've been popping in and out just in case you want to know, Don. It's bases loaded. It's 1 when we've tied it up. So we all have to sacrifice for the paranormal. It's kind of interesting that, they say the acorn never falls far from the tree. My father was an investigator in different ways, shapes, and forms for, well, probably 40 years, 45 years. And, real investigating. So it's unusual that I should become a paranormal investigator myself, but my father is probably the most straight edge, hardcore, I would say the word, cynic, or I would say, but he doesn't even acknowledge that this stuff can potentially exist. So I found it a bit odd when he approached me and said, someone that I work with is going to be contacting you. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, right, Dad. Yeah, it was the first time I think my father ever acknowledged the stuff that I do. And a few days later, I got an email from Karen Mossey. And doing a little research about her, I all of a sudden became very flattered because Karen is probably one of the most foremost EVP specialists in the country. She's probably not going to acknowledge that herself, but her work has appeared in White Noise, and it's appeared in The Ghost Whisperer. She's appeared on cable television in an Emmy award-winning documentary about a haunted lighthouse. And she is here with us tonight. She's a member of the American Association of EVPs. Her website is ectoweb.com. And so here all the way, and I just talked about sacrifices in the paranormal. However far you traveled, no one sacrificed more to be here than Karen. She actually left her daughter's wedding to get on the road to be with us tonight. So here's Karen Mossey.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. And I do know Chris's father, Leo, personally, and he is a wonderful, wonderful guy. And I can attest to all that. When he first told me that my son is into the same type of things that you do, Karen, here's his email. So I was more than happy to contact Chris, and it's one of the best things I ever did. Anyway, I'm Karen Mossey, and the research that I do is called electronic voice phenomena. It's also known as EVP. Any of you ever heard of that? Most of you? Yes. Yeah, it's pretty out there now ever since the movie White Noise. I'd like to introduce my research partner, Mike Sullivan. Mike Sullivan. Mike's been doing EVP research for 30 years, and he's pretty much the reason that I do the research I do in EVP. He introduced it to me through a series of unfortunate events. In 2000, I lost my son Rob unexpectedly, and though I've always believed in the afterlife and I've always dabbled a little bit into the paranormal, my faith and my belief in the afterlife wasn't good enough at that point. I needed more proof that we do actually survive after physical death. And Mike introduced me to EVP. We both became members of the American Association of Electronic Voice Phenomena, and started doing the research and really getting into the study of EVP a little bit more. Since that time, I have, on many occasions, been able to get messages from my son. My father passed away 2 years later. I received messages from him. Mike has gotten messages from his father. So this validates the proof that I needed to know, that we do actually survive physical death. And what does survive is your consciousness, your personality, what they call the soul or the self. And what we're going to introduce you tonight is many examples that we've received of EVP, some different characteristics of EVP. And we're going to finish up with the first EVP that I ever recorded, which is the most phenomenal EVP I've ever recorded. It's about 1 minute and 44 seconds long, very different from the average EVP, which averages seconds long. Most EVP are phrases, and some of them are interactive and some of them are non-interactive. Let me just tell you a little bit about what EVP is, and a little bit about the history. I don't want to bore you, but I want you to know a little bit about the phenomena of EVP. And then we'll get into playing these phenomenal examples for you, and I'm sure that's going to really surprise and wow and awe all of you. Electronic voice phenomena is the appearance of intelligible voices on recording media. And usually, unless you're very super size sensitive, do not hear them with your naked ear. They are heard on playback on recording devices. And the way this happens is the energy of these disembodied voices, these discarnate entities, they manifest on the noise and use the noise in the recording devices to form messages. Our average speech is at a much higher hertz than what EVP come through. The average EVP are 30 to 300 hertz. That's lower than anything that you could actually speak with your vocal cords. So that's how we know these messages are coming from something that is non-physical. Most researchers theorize, as do I, that these are the voices of the deceased. And there are many ways they can come through. They can interact with you in real time. They can be imprints of the past. They can be responding to something that you're saying. They can be responding to something that you're doing, but definitely we know when we play them back, especially if you're in an environment where there's absolutely no noise, these voices appear on your recording device that shouldn't have been there. So this goes back quite a ways. I'll just start from the point where the early 50s, where there was a gentleman named Frederick Jorgensen, and he was just recording on a regular recorder. He was recording for bird noises. And on playback, he not only discovered the noises of the birds, but he also discovered the voices of his deceased grandmother, intermingled with these sounds. So he started this research, and his protege or student, Konstantin Rodive, he then began picking up where Jorgensen left off, and he called them Rodive voices. This was later changed by Colin Smythe to electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, and so on and so forth. This is a phenomena that is studied throughout the world, heavily studied in Europe, coming to life in the United States, and a lot of people are doing this research. I need to let you know that anyone can do it. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You can do it on a regular tape recorder. The preference that most EVP researchers are using today is digital recorders. All right, you don't need to spend a lot of money. The cheaper ones tend to be better. And the reason they tend to be better is because there's more ambient noise within the circuitry of the recorder, and that is what the entities use to manifest. They use that noise. If you have a very good recorder, then what you might want to do is add a little background noise, maybe a fan or some static, tune your radio into some static, whatever you can have available that helps them manifest, because they are not speaking with any physical apparatus. All right, they don't have any vocal cords. They're using pure energy, the energy of the circuitry, and they're also using your energy. So you don't need, also, this is important to tell you that you don't need to be in a haunted location to record EVP. Spirits are everywhere. And you wouldn't want to think that your loved ones are necessarily in a haunted location. They can come and go as they please. Free will exists both there and here, as it does here. And your personality, just like it is here, is what survives the transition after you physically die, and that remains intact. So some of the best EVP that I've recorded right in my own home. It's not to say that you don't get EVP in haunted locations, because you're guaranteed you do. All right? And the thing you have to remember is that when you go into haunted locations, you're trying to find out why these particular, if you want to call them ghosts or spirits, remain behind. So when you record EVP, it might give you a clue to understanding why they remain earthbound, and why they're not like other entities that can come and go, all right, from a different plane of existence and go back. But these particular entities are grounded here. It's important, if you do EVP, to remember, all right, to stay very grounded and to remember to be positive, because you are going to get messages that are not so kind, all right, that are nasty. And what you have to remember, and what I remember, and what I know, is that it's more validation for me, because I know a lot of people in this physical plane that are not so nice. And the personality remains unchanged. So when you go over there, there's going to be a lot of people over there that are going to be the same type of personalities that they were here. So if you get an EVP that comes through and swears at you, or tells you you're crazy, all right, or that you're a witch, or anything else like that, you have to take it with a grain of salt, all right? Don't take it personally. They can say whatever they want, just like people here can say whatever they want to you, all right? Just remember that this is the research you're doing. You can choose to ignore them, All right? So at the end of our presentation, we're going to get right into playing you some examples or really wake you all right up, okay? We will answer any questions, and of course Mike and I will be here after the conference finishes, and we'll be happy to entertain any questions you have at that point too. Okay, so Mike is going to be playing the examples of EVP for you, okay? And what I'll do is I'm going to go through different classifications of EVP. EVP can come through many different ways. They can come through as sounds. They can come through very clearly. They can come through not so clearly. They can come through as whispers. They can interact with you. They can be residual energy. For example, like in Gettysburg, you go to Gettysburg, you go out in those battlefields and you can get sounds of cannons. You can get sounds of bugles when there is nothing you can see with your naked eye out there. But that energy is so prevalent. It's so dense that it remains there. All right? Everything that we speak, it's hard to conceptualize this because it's really a lot of quantum physics, and actually, to tell the truth, I don't understand everything about EVP. And I keep seeking to try to understand more about it. It's a phenomenal piece of evidence in the paranormal field. In my opinion, it's the best evidence you have. All right, because it's there. It's there, and it can be played over and over again. It continues to come. So, a lot of EVP come in different forms. And I guess what we'll do right now is we're going to play you an example of what we call Class A. Class A meaning these EVP are very clear. Almost everybody hears the same thing, and they're easy to understand. Class B come in a little less clear. Sometimes you need to be told what it says, and you have to remember that once you're told what it says, you've already been influenced. All right, your psyche has already been influenced to hear what everyone else hears. And Class C are almost always hard to hear. They're interpretable. People hear different things. It's important to know that when you do EVP, and after doing EVP for a long period of time, you almost become trained to hear the language of EVP. All right? Your ears become tuned to hear EVP. It's like a foreign language sometimes, you know. Not everyone can hear it that way, but the more you do it, the more you hear it as they manifest it, because they are not speaking it like I am speaking to you right now. However, some of them, maybe because of circumstances, energy being high, not exactly sure, everything being perfect, come through perfectly clear. And some of them don't. So, let's play a couple examples of Class A EVP. I'm going to be playing an EVP right now that was used both in the movie White Noise and in the movie Ghost Whisperer. It's a very famous EVP, all right, and it was in the back trailer for the movie White Noise. Now this EVP is actually my father's voice. And I shared this with many people before I introduced it to the public eye. And they said without a doubt, these were people that were just mildly acquainted with my father, and they said without a doubt, Karen, that's your dad, that's Stanley. And so I'll play that for you now. And again, I want to let you know that most EVP come through very short. I don't know whether it's because they need a lot of energy to manifest or they use what they can, and when it runs out, that's it. But most EVPs are very short. The one we'll play at the end is not so. All right? So I'm going to play you my dad's EVP that was used on these two movies and let you listen to it. And I'm sure you'll hear it the same way I hear it. Tell me what you hear. Right. Yep. And that's my dad's exact voice. All right. He used to always emphasize you. All right. And the way he says it there is his inflection. I love you. All right. So, of course, the family was really thrilled to hear from him. Now, my dad, I'm just going to tell you a quick story here. I could talk for a long time, so I have to really, get control of myself here because I'm so passionate about this phenomena. My dad was a legislator for 16 years, and we've received EVP from him just to validate the fact that your personality stays the same. You still have the same likes and dislikes. And he just loved his job, passing laws and things like that. And we actually recorded an EVP, which is on the website, the AA EVP website, saying, I'm going to pass a law. So he's still doing what he enjoyed doing here. He's still doing there. So it kind of helps you to know. After I lost my son, it was really what I needed to know to help me live a much better life. The fact that we do continue, that Rob's still with me, and that I can still have a relationship with him, even though it's changed. You can still communicate with them. They are still here. I've talked to medical doctors about the phenomena, and there have been doctors that have told me, after years of dealing with death and dying, Karen, I know everything you do, and I need to tell you, these people aren't going anywhere. But science sometimes puts a damper on all of this. It's almost like they're afraid to admit to this. But I'm telling you that if you know and you are sure, as I am, that we do survive, all right, and continue our existence in another form, it really does help you live your life so much better. Now this next EVP we consider a Class A as well. And Mike does a lot of reflective photography. We've come to find out through EVP, they've told us we've asked, how can we see you better? And they've said, use mirrors. So part of what Mike does, which is a different topic off of EVP, is he does a thing called reflective photography. And we've come to find out that they manifest very well, just like they manifest in recording devices through EVP. With EVP, they manifest very well with when you take pictures in reflective surfaces. So this particular EVP actually refers to the fact that when Mike was taking pictures. Now in this EVP, I hear a little bit of an accent, almost as if it's a British accent when he says took a picture. All right, and sometimes when they come through, they speak in different dialects. They usually always come through in the dialect that you can understand. I don't know why. Let's say I was in Germany and I was recording for EVP. Somehow they know, all right, to manifest in English so that I would understand that. But we do get quite a few EVP that come through in dialects. And this is clearly an English dialect. Now, we've also come to find out that they have some type of sense of foresight. They can predict things, or they can warn you of things